Hello there. We are back talking about the lunations. So I'm Fernanda Paiva, Hitchhiking Stars, and I am here to talk about the new moon. So our upcoming new moon that's happening on the 14th of July 2026. And in some places in the world, it might be happening on the 13th or the 15th of July. So really have a look at that. But this new moon is happening at 21 degrees of Cancer. So it's a Cancerian new moon. And this new moon in particular has a kind of a double or almost triple Cancerian vibe for me, Cancerian energy. And I'm going to tell you why. We're going to do what we usually do. We're going to look at the chart for this new moon, which is right in front of me as I'm talking to you. So some of the aspects, a little bit on the Sabian Symbol, and then I'll just share a little bit about the tarot cards that are also connected to this new moon. So first of all, why do I have this feeling that's a kind of a triple energy here, sort of Cancerian energy? It's not just because we have 3 planets in Cancer, which we'll do. We obviously have the sun and the moon meeting in the sky in Cancer, and Mercury still retrograde at 19 degrees Cancer. So this new moon is conjoined, it's very close to Mercury, but Mercury is still going retrograde. So we have Mercury in Cancer adding another layer of Cancerian energy. But Mercury is still retrograde, which for me resonates with it naturally resonates with the Cancerian energy, because the crab walks sideways, right? It's not really about walking forward. It's not really moving ahead, picking up speed, racing or rushing, or it takes its time when we think about the energy of Cancer. And with Mercury retrograde is the same. It really is about taking your time. It really is about revisiting, reviewing, rethinking, reassessing, editing, all these different activities. And it does give an extra layer of introversion, of being able to really go in and ask ourselves some very important questions. Think about the energy of Cancer here in connection to nurturance as well. What do we need to nurture? What do we need to nourish? In fact, what are our needs, right? How is that really being tended to, right? Because socially and culturally, especially in the Western world, nurturing isn't really necessarily an activity that's overly emphasized or valued. There's always this sort of go-get attitude, and I think the energy of Aries, so the Saturn in Aries is in a bit of a square to Mercury. So I think that conflict is represented by that. The new moon is also in a kind of a wide, but still forming a square to Saturn and Aries. So that sort of leadership, attitude, and initiative, go-getter, self-motivated, etc. This new moon is really talking about rest and nurturance and looking after and self-care and caring for someone else as well, or something else. We can think about caring for other people, but also caring for a garden, caring for our plants, caring for our pets. So activities associated with caring are very much under the spotlight here. And the soulfulness of it, and the patience that's cultivated through those activities, which I also think is very much under the spotlight here. Now, this new moon also has an emphasis on Venus. So again, a kind of a feminine energy, an introverted energy. Venus is in Virgo. So we have Venus at 5 degrees Virgo. And this Venus is forming a yod with Neptune and Pluto respectively at 4 degrees Aries and 4 degrees Aquarius. And they're square to Uranus in Gemini. So Venus is really being poked at. And again, Venus in Virgo here is talking about being grounded, sort of planting yourself, rooting yourself. I think rooting is a wonderful word, in fact, in here, because roots is very much associated with Cancer. So how are we going to do that? We're really being invited to look at that, to look at those values, the values that are really simple, grounded, and connected to service as well. What kind of service can we offer, right? So Venus has that emphasis there in this new moon chart. And the Sabian symbol really adds another layer of this Cancerian introverted kind of energy. So the Sabian symbol is a young woman awaiting a sailboat. So a young woman awaiting a sailboat. Now, that imagery for me has a very dreamlike quality. Obviously is very feminine as well. We're not just because we're talking about a young woman, but very feminine because we're talking about waiting. And waiting is a receptive activity, right? When we think about the art of no action, that we know when we're not supposed to take action, that picks up the square to Saturn and Aries again. It's like, is it time to take action? Probably not. And because it's a new moon as well, it's a time to reflect, to rest, to go inwards. So that Sabian symbol really resonates with this imagery. The sort of patient ambition. There is an ambition there is a hope, but it's about waiting. It's about being receptive to it, right? It has a kind of a dreamlike quality as well, because we're talking about a sailboat. And a sailboat is usually on the sea, right? And the sea really represents, I think the sea really resonates obviously with Neptune, the god of, the oceans. And transcendence and spirituality, being a drop in the ocean. And that realization that we're all part of something larger, but we all, a small kind of contribution there. We're all interconnected as well. So again, the ocean, the waiting kind of brings in this image, this quality as well. There's a feeling of trusting the timing of life here. So it's a new moon that's not so much about setting a lot of intentions and picking up speed and, treading ahead really fast. But it really is an opportunity to know what kind of intentions you want to set for this month, to really weed out things that don't work anymore, but to do it in a caring, in a patient way, right? There is a connection to journey and freedom when we think about the sailboat as well. But really what stands out for me is the sense of surrender and the intuition that's really highlighted during this new moon. And really the Sabian symbol made me think about Penelope in the the Odyssey, when she was waiting for Odysseus, and the sense of loyalty, the sense of care, the sense of patience is very much imbued in this, in the energy of this new moon as well. This new moon in Cancer. So what do we want? What do we want to see growing in our lives? What do we want to tend to? What do we want to nurture? What kind of pots do we want to water? Right? What kind of seeds do we want to plant? What do we want to weed out from the, garden, our inner garden, and our life's garden as well, right? The life that's growing around us. Now, in terms of the tarot cards, I also love the connections here. I mean, the major arcana card associated with Cancer is the Chariot. Now, think about the Chariot here as an imagery for self-mastery. So we're not talking necessarily about going out, getting, and being really successful out there. But the success out there really depends on your inner strength and your inner life as well. And self-mastery is a very strong one I see in that connection. And then with the minor arcana cards, we've got the 2, the 3, and the 4 of Cups. Especially the 4 of Cups, which is associated with the moon in Cancer, which is what we have. And that feeling of waiting, right? We have that in the imagery of the 4 of Cups as well. So really, don't go with any of the apathy that card might be talking about, but with the timing, the reflection, the reassessment that the 4 of Cups can be talking about as well. So that's it. This is what I had to share with you about this new moon in Cancer. I hope this is helpful. I hope you have a magical new lunar cycle, and that you can nourish and nurture and grow all the important things in your life. So I'll speak to you all soon. So bye now. Take care.